Okay, shalom. Incredible lesson. Yosef was a successful man. Some powerful hidden secrets are revealed in this teaching regards redemption and why we have been in an Edomite exile for 2,000 years. Okay, so it's based on this verse from Genesis. We're right in the story of Yosef at this time. We're now into Parashah Miketz. However, this is a verse taken from last week's Torah portion. The Lord was with Yosef, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. So Genesis 39:02. This is incredible, by the way. Some of the things I'm going to pull up that weave together revelations to be found in the Jerusalem Talmud, some very, very powerful Rashi commentary, some incredible things, really incredible, powerful concepts. The two ways that Shimon Bar Yochai is spelled, the Mishnaic version and the Zoharic version, and everything weaves together. The whole story of Yosef, it really reveals that the Torah of Moshe is true. The concept of Moshe, the Moshiach, is true. So we've got this phrase, Yosef, and he was a successful man. Et Yosef, why he ish matzlich. Okay, so we've got some various gematria there. Just to point out, however, that straight away we've got a powerful connection to why was he successful? What was the goal of his success? What was the goal of his strivings? Why did he fight so hard against all the forces of Egypt? What was his real motivation? Why he was driven to be so successful, and why did YHWH make him successful? What was YHWH's ultimate goal? And you get that here, look, Likrat Israel. So that comes to 731 for the Likrat. He went out to meet Israel, and this talks about when Yosef finally got to meet his father. After his father had suffered the diminishment in his ruach, and he was revived through being given the truth. Oh, Yosef Chai, Yosef is still alive. So there's something regarding the success of Yosef from heaven, because there was divine intervention involved, but he's striving to succeed. He wanted to go see his father. He wanted to go meet his father. His desire was to meet Israel, Likrat Israel. So we've got that comes to 1272, which is exactly the same as the regular and the ordinal of Yosef, and he was a successful man. So there's something in that. Why? Because Yisrael is the appellation of Yaakov, the name given to Yaakov, after he has wrestled and subdued every force of the evil inclination. Hasatan, defeated Hasatan. And I've spoke about this a lot. So there was a goal involved in his success. Okay, but this success was not, it was hidden. It was hidden from Yisrael. It was hidden from his brothers. And we're going to be having a look at this particular the Sophie letters of this spell a very significant word that I've highlighted in red regarding the unveiling. This word is unveiling or unmasking. The unveiling, the unmasking of the holy arm of YHWH. Let's go and have a look at some of this. So, first of all, this gematria has the exact same gematria, regular and ordinal, of the phrase utterly destroyed. He shamed te shamedun. Okay, utterly destroyed. So something about Yosef, or the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef, is connected to this particular prophecy that we would be utterly destroyed. How is it connected? We'll see. Because this was not ultimately fulfilled. There was a reason why it wasn't ultimately fulfilled. And the sages have left us a trail to follow that's very powerful, that we need to start to put all the jigsaw pieces of the puzzle together and figure out why weren't we actually utterly destroyed? What prevented our utter destruction that was prophesied through Moshe in Deuteronomy? What stopped that from actually occurring? What act of mercy have we all experienced to prevent this utter destruction? Hishamed tishamedun. Let's go find out. So, not only, we've got two concepts here. Okay, we've got two concepts here. Utterly destroyed and you will be long established, and they're related. So first of all, I'm going to read from Deuteronomy 4:26. It says, I call a witness against you this very day, the heaven and earth, that you will speedily and utterly perish from the land to which you cross the Jordan to possess. You will not prolong your days upon it. You will not prolong your days upon it, but will be utterly destroyed. Okay, so these words are eternal. They've got to be fulfilled in some way or nullified. How was that so? We can see this is connected to Yosef being a successful man in Egypt. Why? So one day could come face to face with his father Israel. Okay, there's a process in Yaakov being elevated up to the name of Israel. Last teaching that I did, the one on what? It's called What. It's a really powerful teaching regarding soul levels that we've got an opportunity to attain. However, let's go and have a look at this. This is the commentary by Rashi regarding these two verses that are connected together. Deuteronomy 4:25 and Deuteronomy 4:26. So 4:25 says, when you beget children and children's children, and you will be long established in the land, and you become corrupt and make a graven image, the likeness of anything, and do evil in the eyes of YHWH your God, to provoke him to anger, I call as witness against you this very day the heaven and the earth, that you will speedily and utterly perish from the land to which you cross the Jordan to possess. You will not prolong your days on it, but you will be utterly destroyed. Okay, so we've got some Rashi commentary regarding this. It's very, very significant. That's also connected to the 2,000 years of Edomite exile. That's connected to the 2 years in this week's Torah portion that Yosef was in the pit after he'd interpreted the dreams of the chief baker who hanged, and the cupbearer of Pharaoh that lived. 2 extra years he was in to the day. Okay, so this is connected to this prophecy. This is connected to the Edomite exile that we've all experienced for 2,000 years. That is actually the 2,000 years of Moshiach. According to the sages, it's the era of Moshiach. So you will be long established. The Hebrew is Wernoshantem. He hinted to them that they would be exiled from it at the end of 852 years. The gematria, numerical value of the word Wernoshantem, but he exiled them earlier at the end of 850 years. Okay, so there wasn't actually, it says when you have been long established, and that word is 852. That word is 852. Okay, as we've got up here, you'll be long established. 852 is the gematria of it. But they weren't long established in the land to 852 years. It was brought out 850 after 850 years. So they didn't fulfill the "and you will be long established." And as a consequence of that, they won't be fulfilling the utterly destroyed either. But both of these words do actually need to be fulfilled. So we've got 2 years that we've got to fulfill in some way. We've got 2 missing years. It says the end of 850 years. But he did this 2 years earlier than the numerical value of Neshantem, in order that the prophecy about them should not be fulfilled, that you should be utterly destroyed or utterly perish. This is the meaning of what he said. And YHWH hastened with the evil and brought it upon us, for YHWH is our Elohim is charitable tzaddik. That's from Daniel 9:14. He was charitable with us, for he hastened to bring it, the exile, 2 years before its time, so that we would not fulfill the prophecy to be utterly destroyed. So what happened with these 2 years then? Okay, 2 years be connected to Yosef being in the pit for 2 extra years. It's like Vilna Gaon said regarding Moshiach Ben Yosef. Moshiach Ben Yosef was destined to die. Okay, and he did die in a way. He will be resurrected from the dead, because the resurrection of the dead needs to be fulfilled. Okay, and he is the first to be resurrected from the dead. However, there's then this 2,000 years of the Messianic era, which we have been so far in Edomite exile. Vilna Gaon said the suffering of Moshiach Ben Yosef, who was destined to die for all of us, and suffer for all of us, because of the prayers of Moshiach ben David, he will live. And how can he live when it's been decreed against him that he will die? The Vilna Gaon says because his punishment was extended. Okay, his punishment was extended over a much longer period of time. So you see, the 2 years become 2,000 years of exile, Edomite exile, where the Moshiach Ben Yosef is suffering for the sake of all of us, until we reach a place where we are no longer going to be in a situation where we're rebelling, that would then lead on to utter destruction. He's given us the opportunity. He's carrying our sins for us. He's bearing our burden for us for a very extended, long period of time. So hopefully we can accomplish all the rectifications that we are destined to accomplish, and correct every single defect and every single sin and error that leads us to a place of utter destruction. And hopefully with the concept of the Mashiach, the knowledge of the Mashiach and the knowledge of YHWH, we can ultimately avoid this. We can ultimately be shepherded sufficiently to avoid utter destruction, but it's taken a lot longer time than it would have done. And in all that time, Moshiach Ben Yosef is suffering. Okay, we have an obligation, and we'll see it in the actual gematria, we have an obligation to return him to his rightful place, as the Moshiach. Not the Mashiach of our imagination, by the way, false Mashiach, but the true, not the Mashiach of YHWH, which is truly rectified knowledge of YHWH. Baruch haba b'shem YHWH, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So here we've got this part of it, and you will be long established. Now this is the perfection of the Torah. This is the perfection of the Torah. To be a long established 852. It's got a mispah gadol, however, regular mispah gadol, ordinal mispah gadol, 1,519. If we take the regular and the mispah gadol and add them up, it comes to 4 times 566. 566 is Moshiach Ben Yosef. So we know Moshiach Ben Yosef is involved in this number, the 852. And we know that so far we've got 850. He's the 2 years. He represents those 2 years. He's taken those 2 years upon himself in order to spare us from utter destruction, and suffered as a consequence. How do we know that? How do we know that? Because we've got this here. The bearing of his arm in holiness. This is talking about the bearing of the arm of YHWH. We know YHWH doesn't have an arm, but he has a representation of that arm. It's just like Arizal said, the hand of God is Moshe. So it would appear that the arm, the holy outstretched arm, is connected into Yosef. So you've got this word, this phrase, the bearing of the holy arm in holiness, and I'm going to show you in the Jerusalem Talmud where this is taken from. As we can see, Chet Shin Yod Pe Tav, Chet Shin Yod Pe Tav. Yosef is the one that is unveiled. Okay? This word is unveiling, unmasking, bearing, revealing the holy. His holy, his arm in holiness. Not all the, we've got the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef, and it's just surrounded by lies, the lies of exile, the false Moshiach, the gods of Esav, the all kinds of concepts that we've got wrong about Moshiach Ben Yosef. And he will be revealed in holiness. How do we know in holiness? Because it'll be rooted into the Torah of Moshe that is true. Okay, so here, as we can see, the bearing of his arm in holiness is a square ordle of 3038, which is exactly 2 times 1519, 2 times the Misbag Dalton ordinal of you will be long established. So we know it's all related. We can see through the numbers that it's all related. This exile, this concept of utter destruction, everything the sages said in Sanhedrin, in Gittin, by Rashi, all of this, all of it weaves together to reveal the reality that we've all experienced for the last 2,000 years and the perfection of the Torah to reveal it all exactly as it would happen. Right, so let's go and have a look at this. This is taken from Talmud Jerusalem, the Jerusalem Talmud, Berekoth 9.1, part 12. You get this on sfaria.org. And as you can see, we've got this verse up here, but I'm going to read this verse. This is the word that we're looking at, which is the Sophite letters, and Yosef was a successful man. Chov Shin Yod Pe Tet, the unveiling. So it comes from here. They came back and they asked him, what is that which is written? Joshua 24:19, for he is a holy God. He answered them, it is not written they, but he is a jealous God. His students told him, teacher, these you pushed away with a stick, what can you answer us? Rabbi Isaac said, he is holy in all kinds of holiness. As Rabbi Yudin said, in the name of Rabbi Aha, the Holy One, praise to him, is holy in all kinds of holiness, which is from, as example, Psalm 77:14. God, Yahweh, is in holiness. His walking is, Yahweh is in holiness. Yahweh is in holiness. His walking is in holiness, from Psalm 68:25. The course of my God, my King, in holiness. His throne is in holiness. Psalm 47:9. God throned on his holy throne. His speech is in holiness. Psalm 68. God spoke in his holiness. The bearing of his arm is in holiness. Isaiah 52:10. The eternal bared his holy arm. He is awesome and glorious in holiness. Exodus 15:11. Who is like you, glorious in holiness? So this phrase, the bearing of his holy arm, comes from the Talmud, but it's referencing Isaiah 52:10, which is the chapters of the suffering servant. The Lord has revealed his holy arm before the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. So we know the salvation that's going to be revealed before the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God in holiness. So let's have a look at some of these numbers then. The bearing of his arm in holiness, 1504 is the regular of that. Like I said, this is taken from the Talmud in reference to Isaiah 52:10. So we've got this incredible connection then between the bearing of his holy arm in holiness. It comes to the exact gematria. It comes to the exact gematria of the Zoharic spelling of Shimon Bar Yochai and the Mishnaic spelling of Shimon Ben Yochai, which is 674. That together comes to 1504. Okay, so if we add these two, I'm pretty sure this will be the 300 less. This will be the regular and ordinal added up. So this we can see clearly, the regular and the ordinal added up, and that 127 is Yeshua spelt out, where the Vav is filled with the Yod, the ordinal of Yeshua filled out to the first filling, where the Vav is filled with the Yod at the level of Atziluth. So Shimon Bar Yochai is somehow connected to Yeshua at the highest level of revelation from the world of emanation. And Shimon Bar Yochai, that should say Shimon Ben Yochai, is called Ben Yochai that's the Mishnaic spelling. So Shimon Bar Yochai, that's Aramaic. Shimon Ben Yochai, Hebrew. Okay, so you've got the Zoharic and the Mishnaic, they come to 1504. Exactly the same as the bearing of his holy arm in holiness. What is the significance of that? The significance of this is that Shimon Bar Yochai represents the chief cupbearer of Pharaoh. Why do I say that? Because wine is the secret in a dimension of the Torah, and the writings of Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar actually reveal in holiness the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef and the concept of Yeshua HaNotzri as a result. Okay, so they reveal the true knowledge of YHWH, the secret teachings of the Torah. Okay, this is in the writings of Shimon Bar Yochai, the Zohar. There's flies in the wine. Just as the cupbearer was brought into the prison under Yosef's guard, because, as the sages say, Pharaoh found flies in his wine. Okay. Shimon Bar Yochai represents that whole, the Kabbalists, the Kabbalistic teachings and the secret teachings of the Torah that have been preserved for thousands of years. They contain within them the true concept of Moshiach, including the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef, including that leads to a true revelation of the name of YHWH. They do contain flies in the wine, however, but not enough to cause the death of the cupbearer, but the cupbearer lives as a consequence. Okay, so Shimon Bar Yochai is related to the chief cupbearer. He's the chief Kabbalist. He's the chief one responsible for preserving the truth regarding the concept of Moshiach Ben Yosef in holiness, in truth, in holiness. Okay, so we can see that it's the exact same gematria, 1504. The chief baker, however, is equivalent to the masters of the wheat that actually hung. Why did they hang? Because they're responsible for intentional stones being placed in the bread, the baked products of Pharaoh. The chief baker hung because, as the sages say, there were stones found in the bread. Stones don't accidentally get into baked products. Stones are intentionally put in to harm. Okay, we find this in the masters of the wheat. What's called the masters of the wheat? The Talmudists. So your chief baker most likely was Rabbi Akiva, because it's certainly his teachings that have become chief amongst the Talmudic teachers. And along with Ramban, Yochanan ben Zakkai, there was stones intentionally put in to the Talmudic teachings that lied. There were stumbling stones regarding the concept of Moshiach, especially Moshiach Ben Yosef. So you've got documents like who is the author of which is traced back to Rambam Yochanan ben Zakkai. I know there's disputes about that, but the book Taliath Yeshu, the hanging of Esav. The hanging of Esav is it's a mockery of the Gospels. It's a mockery. It's intentional, put in by the chief bakers, by the same way, just like Haman, by the same way that Haman desired to hang Mordecai, and they've been very successful in deceiving Yehuda with these false teachings, with these stones. They've created a stumbling stone from within the teachings of Yehuda, and they have stumbled. The people who are most liberated are the true Kabbalists. That's why you've got Kabbalists like Rabbi Kaduri revealing who the name of the Moshiach was, YHWH. Okay, and we will get that number to come up later from the note that he said. It actually ties into this. So the true Kabbalists are the cupbearers, the Talmudists, the masters of the wheat. They put stones in there to intentionally cause Yehuda to stumble, but it's all the will of Yehuda. It was all the will of YHWH. How do we know? Because it's Torah. There is a cupbearer. You've got to see the cupbearer in the macrocosm. There's a chief baker in the Torah. There will be a chief baker in the macrocosm. It's Torah. It had to happen. You know, YHWH is faithful to fulfill his Torah, the Torah of Moshe, in truth. So there had to be a chief baker as much as there had to be a cupbearer. Okay, so it's not about apportioning blame. It's just about our whole reality, ultimately revealing one, the absolute authority and oneness and sovereignty of YHWH, and his faithfulness to his Torah and his Moshiach. Okay. So here we get the connection to the chief baker. Okay. Because straight away we've got Ki Tov Patah, because of a good interpretation. So the chief baker sat there nice and quietly, and he listened to the interpretation that Yosef gave the cupbearer. He listened to the interpretation and he found it favourable, and then he disclosed his own dream, which was interpreted that he would hang. So how could you look at this? We've now had the revelation, haven't we? We've had for now, and especially in these last 40 years, a massive outpouring, if you like, of the Kabbalistic teaching's been translated into English. There's been this worldwide publishing of Kabbalistic works. Everybody's heard of it now. Everybody's got opinions on it now. But in truth, it's the cupbearer. There are flies in it, but it's still something that is very much associated with favour towards Yosef. Okay, and it was the cupbearer's integrity to remind Pharaoh of his own experience with Yosef that ultimately brought redemption from the pit for Yosef. The end of this 2,000 years was brought about by the initiation of the cupbearer. So we've got that to look forward to. Which Kabbalists in this world at this time are going to step into that role and dare to bring down the head, dare to speak to the head of the exile and convince him of the truth regards Yosef. In fact, bring Yosef forward to help the Pharaoh with his own problems. You know, let's see this fulfilled now. So because of the good interpretation, this was the chief baker. He thought, well, it's fared well for the chief cupbearer. The interpretation's fared well for him. Well, I'll just spill my guts too and see what happens. Well, you've just hung yourself. You've just hung yourself on the gallows that you intended to hang Yosef. You've hung yourself. So that's your interpretation for you, and that will happen too. It will happen. Because it's the Torah. You shall give truth to Yaakov. So this is taken from the book of Micah, and it's one of the 13 attributes of mercy at the highest level of Keter, And this is one, Titain Emeth li Yaakov, give truth to Yaakov, what truth? Od Yosef Chai, Yosef is still alive. I've talked about that a lot. It's got a gematria of 1503, which is another very significant word. So if we add a kollel to that, because a kollel represents the truth has been hidden, and the aleph represents concealment. So if we add the concept of concealment, the kollel, to 1503, we have 1504. Exact same gematria as the bearing of his holy arm, the bearing of his arms in holiness, 1504. The regular and the ordinal of that, 1658, 8 times light. Okay, 8 times awe. And it's the light that we're wanting to see revealed from the darkness, from the darkness of exile. Truth is light. Truth is light. And they embalmed him, and he was placed into the coffin in Egypt. Who? Yosef. We had to go get his bones out. Moses went and got his bones out. It was absolutely necessary for redemption. So here again, you've got a connection to truth. 503, which we can see if we had a kollel to that. Again, this is a big mystery regarding the bones of Yosef. Why did the bones of Yosef have to come out of Egypt? Why did the sea, according to the sages, split on account of the bones of Yosef, the coffin of Yosef? Okay, mysteries I've talked about before. A few videos back, I talked about this very powerful concept and where that concept comes from, because the bones represent Yosef's good deeds. Who is Yosef? Yosef is Moshiach Ben Yosef. So Moshiach Ben Yosef is Yeshua, who's the one that's suffering in exile with us. Where? In Rome. You know, it's not Egypt this time, it's Rome this time. The entire concept of Yeshua has been exiled into Rome, Roman dominion, Satan's territory, Esau's territory. We've got to redeem this concept from there. You know, it's just like the bones of Yosef trapped in Egypt, but on account of that, Egypt was blessed. On account of Yeshua being trapped in Rome, Rome is blessed. Rome runs the entire world, whether you like to believe it or not. The Vatican and all this, they're the powers in this world. They're what we're subject to. The evil shepherds are what we're subject to until we get the good shepherd out. We need to redeem him from Esau. We need to redeem him from Rome. We need to get his bones out. His bones represent his good deeds. All the while the soul of Moshiach Ben Yosef is enslaved and exiled into Roman dominion. All the good deeds that us, the house of Yosef, that's lost in there, and the house of Yehuda, let's not forget, is also exiled into Edomite exile. All our good deeds are trapped in Egypt, just as Yosef's bones were trapped in Egypt. We need them out, because this is our final redemption. This is why the sea split. We need the sea to split again for the final redemption. We need to go all the way home, and we're not going home without the bones of Yosef. So we need to understand who is exactly Yosef. What exactly are these good deeds? These good deeds are the works that have been done for the sake of the Moshiach, inspired by the example of the Moshiach, who was inspired by the name of the Father, YHWH, at the level of Keter, as revealed in the book of Micah. And one of these is to turn a Meth Yaakov, to give truth to Yaakov. The Torah is perfect. It's revealing to us the truth in a perfect way that completely and totally aligns with the macrocosmic reality of this last 2,000 years of Edomite exile. We need to get those good deeds out. We need to get all those Christians that worked from faith and belief in Yeshua. He was ultimately an embodiment of one who perfectly emulates the name of the Father at the level of Arikampin, the level of Keter, the good 13 attributes of mercy. They, being like him, creates good works. Those good works need redeeming. They are holy. They was done for the sake of the name that was revealed to them through the Moshiach of YHWH, Yeshua HaMoshiach, Moshiach Ben Yosef. Again, we've got here, why? Because these are emeth. 1,503 plus the ordinal, 2,261 plus 1,764, which is 4 times 441, 4 times emeth, 4 times truth. It's all about truth. It's all about truth. We're to worship in spirit and truth. Ruach emeth. And then we've got this incredible gematria. Call out now also. Karo na gam. This na, by the way, is very important to understand. That's not Tzrut and Islam. It's Nadav and Avihu. Okay, I've done a whole analysis on that. I hope to share that soon. However, Karo na, this is what the sages said, was when the coronavirus hit, globally, all of humanity were affected by the consequences of this evil plague that was orchestrated by the Erev Rav. I've pointed this out before. The 5 aspects of the Erev Rav: Nephilim, Giberim, Anakim, Amalekim, and Raphaim and Amalekim, spell Nega Ra, evil plague. The Erev Rav are the mixed multitude that came out of Egypt. Okay, they're the top magicians. They're controlling the whole of media, the whole of science, the whole of commerce. Everything is controlled by Erev Rav at this time. Except really it's YHWH is in full control. And this is only allowed so that the power of his name can be revealed when we defeat every aspect of evil. And we will with the power of Moshiach, true knowledge of YHWH. They know it. They know it. We've got to figure this one out for ourselves. Right, Corona Gam, call out now also. So we've got the Corona Gam. The initial letters are Kof, Nun, Gimel, which is Kof 100, Nun 50, Gimel 3, 153. 153. You can see up here, you shall give truth to Yaakov, comes to 153 ordinal. These are the 153 fishes. That was the very last prophecy and hint given to the disciples from Yeshua after he'd ascended into heaven and he was on his way down into Edomite exile. It was a sign that he gave that nobody could figure out. There's no Christian commentary that can figure out why there was 153 fishes in the dragnet. It was a coded message for now. It was a coded message that we can only understand now. It's the concept of you shall give truth to Yaakov, the truth or Yosef Chai, and it's also call out now. Call out now also. It's related to when you see the full extent of the Erev Rav, now it's time to get me out from Rome. Call out now also. Come and get me out. We'll see how the gematria links up to the phrase who was ascended into heaven and descended. So it's 153. The ordinal and the mispagadol ordinal. This is Yonah, by the way. 71 is Yonah. It's also the Sanhedrin, the 17 elders plus the Nasai. 71. You've got to unite the whole concept of the Torah of Moshe. The eyes of Israel. The dove's eyes. The dove's eyes that see the innocence in Israel and the nations. And then 82 is Moshiach Ben David, the ordinal of Moshiach Ben David. Add them together, 153. Yonah or Moshe plus Moshiach. Moshiach Ben David, 153. We can see that's give truth to Yaakov. And we can also see, if we add up the Mispah Gadol, the regular ordinal and the Mispah Gadol regular and ordinal, it comes to 1,503. So we had the Kalel again, 1,504. It's all connected to the bearing of the Holy Arm. The bearing of evil has happened now. We now know, unless we are stupid, just how powerful these people are. They have the power to evilly control and manipulate the entire of humanity. They've shown it. They have revealed their evil arm. You can't have one without the other, though. The revealing of the evil arm is only for one purpose. Evil exists for only one purpose, for the opportunity to reveal holiness in the counter holiness to that. Evil exists only as an opportunity to reveal the power and authority and sovereignty of the name of YHWH. Why do we know that? Because that is the only reason anything exists. Okay, so it's been revealed. We now need to reveal in holiness the truth regarding Yosef. So here again we've got this as an example. Who has ascended into heaven and descended? This is exactly where Yeshua was when he was talking to his disciples with regarding the 153. He'd just ascended into heaven. He'd come back. He'd revealed himself. They didn't even recognise him. He told them to put the net the other side. They brought in 153 big fish. Okay, there's a purpose why he's going down into exile. It's to defeat all the forces of exile. Okay, and to stop us from experiencing utter destruction. So the ordinal of that is 153, who was ascended into heaven and descended. The regular of it is 765, which is 5 times 153. So whichever way you look at it, that phrase is connected to 153, which is connected to give truth to Yosef, which is connected to call out now. What we're to call out now, we're to call out the truth regarding Moshiach Ben Yosef. That's what we've got to call out. To get him out of Esav. How do we know we need to get him out of Esav? Because the initial letters Mem, Ayin, Shin, Vav spell from Esav. Call out now and get me out. He's descended, he now needs to ascend from Esav. So those initial letters spell 416, which is 2 times Yitzhak. We know Moshiach Ben Yosef is an appellation. One of his appellations is Yitzhak. Okay. If we add the regular and the ordinal of this, it comes to 472, 4 times 118. Who are we getting out from? Esav. We're getting out Yeshua. This is Yeshua. 118 is Yeshua spelt out. The ordinal of Yeshua spelt out when the Vav is filled with an Aleph. Okay. Lots to think about there. This is the bearing of his holy arm. In holiness. Okay, so let's have a look at these. The bearing of his holy arm. So the square ordinal is 3038. 2 times 1519. So we're just going to have a look at this number and then I'll end. There is another lesson. There may be another lesson to go through the concept of utterly destroyed more, but this is it mostly. So she named him Shimon. So this is powerful. She named him Shimon. This is taken from Genesis 29:33. The naming of Shimon. Why he was named Shimon? The consequences of that. So 1519 with an atbash of 688. Here I've just noticed that this is 6 times 393. 393 is the regular and ordinal of Shiloh. 345, which is the same as Moshe, plus 48, which is the same ordinal as Yosef, comes to 393. Shiloh. This is 6 times Shiloh. It's one of the names of the Moshiach. It's also the name as prophesied in the prophecy to Yehuda in Genesis 49. It's also the gematria of the 5 letters of the initials of the Erev Rav. Nega, Ra comes to 393. Evil, plague, that is the Nephilim, the Gibbarim, the Anakim, the Raphaim and the Amalekim. Those 5 letters come to 393. Those 5 come against the 5 aspects of the Moshiach that reveal the 5 aspects of the name of YHWH. The tip of the Yod, Moshiach Ben Yosef. The body of the Yod, Moshiach Ben David. The He, Moshe. The Vav, Yaakov. And the He, Rachel. Or Sarach Batasha, whichever way you're looking at it. Okay, so they come to, Shiloh comes to 393 and the Erev Rav comes to 393. What's so significant about Shimon then? It says, and she conceived again and she bore a son and she said, since YHWH has heard that I am hated. He gave me this one too. So she named him Shimon. Okay, so because she was hated. She was destined to be the wife of Esav. Yaakov did not love Leah because she was too elevated for him. She was too elevated. He loved Rachel. Yaakov's soulmate was Rachel. Yaakov needed to be transformed into Yisrael in order to love Leah, in order to appreciate Leah, in order to come face to face with Leah. There was a process involved in this transformation. And in the meantime, Leah was unloved. So Shimon has a big part to play in the transformation of Yaakov into Yisrael. Tishma'on listened to him. It's got the name Shimon in. The Nasai at the time of Yeshua was Shimon Ben Hillel. The Shimon Kepha plays a big role in it. Whether they was one of the same people, it's hard to tell, but it would point towards that. Shimon Kepha, Simon Peter, Shimon Ben Hillel. He had his name erased from the entire of the Talmudic teachings. That's another chief baker exploit for you. To remove the Nasai, the name of the Nasai at the time, but we know from from Luke 2 that it was a man called Shimon that first identified Yeshua as the Moshiach of YHWH. I've done loads of teachings about that, so I can't go into that, but there's a process involved. And it involves Shimon, the one we had to listen to. When we listen to the one who came like Moshe, the one who was destined to come, Deuteronomy 18, then when we listen to him, when we really listen to him, and don't just make up what we believe he's said to us, when we really listen to him, we should defeat all the forces of Satan, all the forces of brotherly hatred, all the forces of accusation, false accusation. Yosef and his brothers falsely accused each other. It resulted in the disaster that was his exile into Egypt. All kinds of things are involved in that. It's very complicated, but it's also simple because the Torah is so beautiful and true. And there's loads of concepts I could go into regarding this whole concept of Shimon. She was destined to be Esav's wife because she was the firstborn. Esav was the firstborn. But she pleaded not to have to marry a Rasha like Esav. I thought, maybe Esav would have really loved Leah. But it was never the destiny. Because Yaakov had it within himself to attain the level of Yisrael where at that level he would appreciate. Just had a bit of a coughing fit then. So Esav was never destined to be Leah's husband. He didn't have it in him to love Leah. Yaakov had it in him to love Leah. He's actually buried with Leah, but he had to become Yisrael. He had to actually fight Esav's guardian angel to become it. Every force of delusion. This is why we've got to give truth to Yaakov. Yaakov needs the truth to overcome Satan and his delusion and his lies and his fantasy and his fiction. We need to empower Yaakov with the truth. And that truth is packaged up in the story of Moshiach Ben Yosef. Everything YHWH has been doing in truth, in accordance to that's true, which is the Torah of Moshe. Okay? So he has to fight everything that's not the truth in order to become face to face with his soulmate Leah. Okay? There's a lot of wonderful things in that. So the bearing of his arm in holiness, 1519, is the regular and ordinal of the second filling out of Yeshua. Yod, Shin, Vav, Ayin. Who's going to be revealed? Yeshua. Okay. This is actually, it stands for Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. Gaza is Gaza. So what's happening in Gaza is very significant. And as you can see, it's connected to and you will be long established. So he took himself the 2 years that would lead to our utter destruction. He took those upon himself and extended them to 2,000 years, so that we will avoid this prophecy to be utterly destroyed. And as we've already pointed that out. Hillel and Menachem did not disagree, which comes to 434, which is Moshiach Ben David, when the David has got the extra yud in it. Same at Basha, so she named him Shimon. This was the event that became the catalyst for Menachem departing. This was a holy Zugoth, Hillel and Menachem. Menachem was the Av-Beth Din to Hillel, who was the Nasai, signed the seat of Moshe. Menachem was in charge of the 70 elders. But they didn't agree. YHWH can only dwell between two opposites. So there had to be a holy Zugoth, two opposite, one opposite the other. And when they agreed, there was no longer the opposites required to reveal the holy name of YHWH. Just as we've got the Ark of the Covenant, the two cherubim, and the mercy seat between. That's why there's got to be man and wife, male and female. You can't have them the same. They've got to be opposites in order for YHWH to dwell between you. So think about that in terms of relationships that shouldn't be. So Hillel and Menachem did not disagree. So Menachem left and Shammai came in. Shammai probably is not his real name. I've pointed this out before, but Shammai became the Av-Beth Din during the time of Yeshua. The Nasai at that time, Hillel died in AD 9 or 10. Shimon ben Hillel, his son Shimon, took over from AD 10 to AD 30. Everything about that is erased. His name is erased literally from all the Talmudic literature. Why? And it's certainly not emphasised that Shammai was the Av-Beth Din during the time of Yeshua, but he was. Okay, so this is connected to this. So this is somehow part of, she named him Shimon because she was hated. This hatred needs to be corrected. We're in a process of correcting that hatred. The hatred that Yaakov had for Leah. Because he wasn't yet Yisrael. So the 2,000 years are also to bring Yisrael from a place of Yaakov to the one who prevails against man and gods. I.e. the false gods of Asaph. The 70 false gods of Asaph. The goat skins of Yosef. And so we've got the connection between this, and this is what Rabbi Kaduri, the Kabbalist, the cupbearer, okay, connected to Shimon Bar Yochai, Shimon Ben Yochai, his gematria, if we fill this out, this is the note that he left. He will lift the people and confirm that his word and his teaching stand. Okay, endure and is valid. The initial letters Yod, He, Vav, Shin, Vav, Ayin, Yehoshua, with an extra Vav. Yehoshua. Okay, so the filling out of that to all four levels, Asiya, Yetzirah, Bria, Atziluth, comes to 21,266, which is 14 David times 1,519, the bearing of his holy arm in holiness, or his arm in holiness. Okay, it's utterly and absolutely perfect. And Jacob was left alone. Jacob was left alone, and he was left alone to fight the angel. Okay, so filled, this comes to, at the level of Yetzirah and Bria, it's linked to this note. Okay, and that's enough for today. So I'm going to say shalom. There's lots in there to consider, but it's all perfect. The Torah of Moshe is true. Moshe is true. Okay, what does this mean? It means Moshe represents a supernal da'ath, which is knowledge of YHWH. supernal knowledge, the knowledge of YHWH, it's true. Okay? And his Torah is true. The way the Torah reveals that, because we see YHWH orchestrating all events to perfectly coincide with the Torah of Moshe. We know it's the truth. We're not just reading it. We are experiencing it and living it and breathing it. So Moshe is true and his Torah is true. And the bearing of the holy hand is the revealing that Yeshua is the Moshiach, the supernal da'ath, the rectified supernal da'ath that should reveal to us the oneness, the sovereignty and the authority of YHWH. And with that I will say Shalom.